It's Memorial Day weekend. Hope you get to spend time with your family, but hope that you carve out time to sit in front of the television because there are two big time events in the world of wrestling. Yes, WWE Night of Champions. Yes, AEW Double or Nothing. All of that is happening this weekend, and on this show, we're here to break it all down for you. This is Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, and the bomb drops now.
All of you friendly, nice, amazing people.
Oh, hi everyone. We love you so much.
This is the best.
It's TSF.
Is it real low?
100 Knot.
Oh my god.
And you're listening to the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this Memorial Day weekend edition of Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, the show that is for the fans, by the fans. Thank you to TSF for that awesome intro. My name's Chris Belcher. With me, as always, is the young buck, Mr. Andy York. Joining me virtually this week because our schedules just worked out best, man. It's Memorial Day weekend, so we're lucky that we're getting this in, if we're being honest.
Yes, we are very lucky to be getting this in, and I feel like Memorial Day and Labor Day both are always like big wrestling weekends.
They are.
And so we can't miss this opportunity to record previewing two massive pay-per-views.
Exactly. Like one, we could finagle something, but two in the same weekend, bro, well, like we can't miss this.
We got to do it.
It's so funny. I don't remember what podcast. I think it might have been Jeff Jarrett's podcast that I was listening to. And they were talking about how Memorial Day and Labor Day used to be like weekends that you totally avoid as a wrestling promoter in running because people weren't coming out to the shows, even though it's a holiday and you spend time with your family. Like that used to be no-nos. Well, that's a staple for AEW, so you can guarantee both those holidays you're going to get wrestling.
Yeah, and it makes sense because nobody's working on Monday, so stay up late Sunday night and watch wrestling.
That's exactly right. You got it. And what we also want you to do, make sure that while you're staying up late and you're watching wrestling, you're following us on social media at PBW Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button that gets you notifications. Hit that little bell that gives you a notification every time we upload new content. Make sure you're doing that. Our audience over on our YouTube channel has been spectacular over the last couple of weeks. Thank you all so much for that. We appreciate it. Make sure you're also subscribed if you want just audio only. We're available wherever you find your podcast. Hit that subscribe button there as well. Download it to your favorite device. We would appreciate it very much. All right, Andy, lot to get to today, but before we get to the pay-per-views, let's celebrate a birthday in the world of wrestling. In 2 days, if you're listening to this on the day that it drops on Friday, May 28th, Andy, is the birthday of your favorite and mine, the visionary, the revolutionary, the man going for the World Heavyweight Championship at Night of Champions, Seth Freakin Rollins. Man, how weird is it, number one, before we get into Seth and Roman's birthday is in the same week. Like Roman's birthday was earlier this week. That's so wild.
Yeah, I think as of recording, like it was yesterday.
I believe you're right.
It was.
I believe you're right.
It's crazy. They're like 3 days apart, 3 or 4 days apart. That's who would have thought that like two of the biggest names in wrestling, part of the greatest faction of all time, if you ask me. Like it's crazy that their birthdays are this close, but it kind of makes sense too because they own the wrestling world right now.
Yes, no truer words have been spoken. But man, Seth Rollins' birthday, I didn't get the year on that. I think he's in his mid-30s, something around like 36.
Yeah,
something like that. I don't remember exactly, but man, Seth Rollins, big birthday week. But man, like you just said, what a fantastic career that he has had. And because it's his birthday, let's celebrate that, man. Just talk about what do you remember as your first introduction to Seth Rollins?
So not trying to be the indie guy, but my first introduction to Seth Rollins was Tyler Black on Ring of Honor.
Nice.
And watching him do stuff there was kind of like my first introduction to him, but things didn't really kick off till he joined NXT, became Seth Rollins, first NXT champion. And then, who can forget the impact that he made being a part of the Shield,
Right.
instantly coming to WWE TV.
Yeah, I remember because Seth Rollins, I'm not the indie guy, obviously. That's what we rely on you for. But my first introduction to Seth Rollins was the night that I not rediscovered WWE. I always knew it was there. But when my dark period ended, Survivor Series 2014, Seth Rollins is nearing the top of the card. He is the face of the Authority. We could all see the writing on the wall that he was going to be the guy, but that was my first introduction to Seth Rollins, is that Survivor Series match. I don't remember exactly who was in the match. I know it was Rollins. I think it was Kane and Big Show on one side.
No, I think it was Rollins, Kane, Mark Henry, Luke Harper. I just watched this the other day. It was Rollins, Kane, Luke Harper, Mark Henry. Was Randy in it?
Randy was on the other side. Wasn't he? Because it was Cena and Ziggler and Ryback.
And Eric Rowan. And Big Show, because Big Show turned.
Yes. I knew Big Show was in there somewhere. Of course Big Show turned.
Big Show turned.
Of course he did.
And the other side was like Mark Henry. It was, I don't remember who the fifth person was.
Right.
But it came down to Seth and Ziggler because they both were sleeping on the mat for like 20 minutes while Sting made his entrance.
That is true. Yes. That is true. I mean, I remember that, and I remember immediately gravitating towards Seth Rollins and watching that. Again, my first, me viewing WWE for the first time in like 4 years, and immediately, who caught my eye? Seth Rollins. Of course he did.
Yeah.
It was Rusev was the fifth man, by the way.
How could I forget Rusev?
Yeah, right. So that's my first introduction to Seth Rollins, but dude made an immediate impact. Dude's had some, saying he's had fantastic matches over his career is like an understatement. I can't even, I can't make it any bigger than what it is. Fantastic is just too little of a word, but when you're looking at his career, what are the 2 to 3 matches that you look at that you immediately, that stands out as maybe not your favorites, but the one that had the most impact on you?
I mean, it's hard not to put the Cody WrestleMania match up there because,
for sure,
obviously we were there in person and got to experience that. Trying to think of like some of the ones that you just kind of sit back and watch. One that doesn't get enough love, I think, is I want to say the 2018 Survivor Series match.
Shinsuke.
With him and Shinsuke.
Yes.
That one was really, really good. That one definitely stole the show in a lot of ways for me. And then, who cannot mention the AJ Styles Money in the Bank match with the Universal title on the line? Just one of the best matches in WWE for both of those guys.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely, no doubt. I'll go back to 2015 when he was world champion feuding with John Cena. That SummerSlam match was just incredible. And then the Raw match, what was it, 3 weeks earlier or something like that?
Where he broke his nose?
Yeah, where he broke Cena's nose.
Yeah.
And I can't believe you didn't mention the triple threat match from Royal Rumble 15. Brock Lesnar.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
John Cena and Seth Rollins. Just a wild match. I'll throw another one at you. Obviously, the triple threat with Balor and Miz from WrestleMania 34. I will always look back on fondly. And then Rollins conquering the Beast for the first time at WrestleMania 35. Again, because I was there. A little more special for me. But what a career, man.
The one that, because like when the Shield came in, Seth was always my guy. I feel like everybody had like their favorite member of the Shield.
Sure.
A lot of people love Dean. A lot of people love Roman. I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of people that like were fully behind Seth in the whole thing. Other than like, I would consider myself though one of those guys. And that triple threat match, or that 6-man match that they had with the Wyatt family at Elimination Chamber, if you have not seen that, you need to go back and watch that because it is absolutely amazing. And then their 2 matches with Evolution are just ridiculous. I mean, they are so overbooked because Batista and Triple H aren't what they used to be.
Right.
But they hide it so well.
Yeah,
And it's such a good match. And then I can't believe I didn't mention this one, but all of the matches with Dean Ambrose, not the last run that they had, but their first run post Shield breakup, 2015, 2016-ish, it won feud of the year, and you can absolutely see why when you go back and watch their matches.
For sure. Let's do a little fantasy booking here with this. You look at the Shield, you look at Rollins' turn, came from out of nowhere. They originally didn't want to do it. You know, we've all heard the backstory. But put your booking hat on. Do you think the turn would have worked if it would have been any of the other two guys? If Ambrose would have turned or if Roman would have turned? I mean, it was just like it was the perfect storm for all of them. It's just, to me, it's weird to think of Rollins in another position being turned on and how that would have worked.
Yeah, and it's very difficult now because all three guys are not, like right now, are not what they were during this time period. Because, like, it's hard, to be honest, I don't remember Dean Ambrose a whole lot because Jon Moxley outweighs so much of what he's done. With Roman, it's very easy to remember the Big Dog era because it was
shoved down our throats.
The era that made him in a lot of ways the person that he is today. I feel like if we're talking about the same situation and they're going with the new authority or the authority angle or whatever the case is, maybe Roman would have worked because I think everybody could kind of see the writing on the wall that he was the company guy. So if you made him the heel, I think that might have worked. But the rumor was that it was always going to be Ambrose who turned on the Shield and like was this lunatic guy going forward. But we saw how that kind of played out. So I honestly, I don't think there was a better option than Seth turning when he did, the way he did, and kind of what it led to in the future.
Yeah, the Ambrose thing, I could see how it could have worked with him being the lunatic. I absolutely can see Roman doing it. You make him a heel to begin with, and then maybe he works as the monster babyface that you want him to be once he goes away and all that kind of stuff. But I think Rollins, as much as it would be weird for Rollins not to be the one to have turned, I think Rollins is easily the best wrestler of the three. So I think eventually that would have brought him up. It's just a matter of would it have brought him all the way to superstardom the way he is now, you know?
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting, especially because he's obviously tuned down his... I don't want to say tuned down, but he's obviously adjusted his moveset over the years. And during this 2015 Shield run, his moveset was a very babyface moveset. A lot of high flying, a lot of quick things like a Rey Mysterio-esque or what have you. So I think that's why a lot of people thought, well, when the Shield finally breaks up, Seth Rollins is going to be like the babyface of the group. And I think that's why it works so well, is because people didn't get to see his character work very well in the Shield. And once the turn happened, he went from being the architect to being like the perfect chicken crap heel that was hiding behind the authority. And that, I think that's what made it work so well, is he was such a good bad guy for the character that he was portraying.
Yep. I completely agree. So Seth Rollins, happy birthday, May 28th. Maybe you'll have 10 pounds more in your luggage on the way back home from Saudi Arabia for your birthday.
We're not talking about your jacket.
Which could, yes, I can see where you could mistake that. That's for sure. Let's talk about it, though, man. Happy birthday, Seth Rollins. He is in the World Heavyweight Championship match. Night of Champions is this Saturday. Earlier start time, so make sure that you've got that on your calendar because they are in Saudi Arabia. Having the show on Saturday, so hopefully we won't have any travel issues coming back like we have in the past. But man,
hey, listen, the traveling issues created one of the best SmackDowns ever with NXT invading, so it might not be all bad.
That's a good point. Yep, that's true. That's a good point. But nonetheless, Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, we could argue till we're blue in the face if they're going to headline the show or not, but they're competing for the World Heavyweight Championship. We talked about it last week. You mentioned it just a little bit ago about their Money in the Bank match. These two, I expect nothing less than an absolute banger between these two guys. But when it's all said and done, Andy, we looked at this triple threat tournament or whatever we had, and all 12 participants that are in it. And I think in order to make the biggest statement, to make this world title feel important, this was the right matchup to have to determine the first champion. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think the only other matchup that we talked about that could have worked would have been Seth and Edge.
Yep.
And obviously Seth and Cody, but I don't think anybody wanted Cody in this finals. So I think this was probably the best way. But even more so as Seth and Edge, for what this championship belt is going to represent, I think it had to come down to the two. I'm not saying Edge isn't, but come down to the two workhorses, consistent, maybe the best still to this day, like in the world, in-ring competitors. This has to be these two guys going after the championship to make it feel as important as it possibly can. Because, the fear, we've talked about this when it was introduced, the fear is that this belt could feel like the consolation prize very quickly and very, very easily. And you have to do everything you can to make it as important as possible. And so far, they have been able to do that. Let's just see what happens post Night of Champions with keeping that championship up.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And, if AJ Styles does win it, obviously we'll see him move back over to Monday Night Raw, which would be interesting to see if the club is able to come with him, how all that's actually going to work. We know that AJ and the club and Paul Heyman have had beef in the past, so it's kind of strange that they're over on SmackDown. So in my head, I'm not justifying that's why AJ's going to win. But if he were to win, that would make sense as to, okay, they put him on SmackDown just to have him on that side of the bracket. Then if he wins, go back over to Raw. Okay. But I think you and I can both agree that this is Seth Rollins' title to lose, especially with that interview that he cut on Monday, the second half of the sit-down with Corey Graves, talking about Roman Reigns. If we are, in fact, as it seems as we are, heading to Seth and Roman again at some point, I think Rollins needs to win the title here. I think Roman needs to find a way to cost him at some point. That way that Rollins gets the title, like you've been saying, he can be the champion that Roman is not, and then, Roman costs him down the road.
Yeah, and I don't even know if Roman necessarily has to cost him down the road. I just think I love this feud without actually having a feud going forward. And it's I feel like this feud is always there with these guys, even when they were both baby faces or both heels or whatever. They're feuding with themselves, and it feels like they're also feuding with Jon Moxley as who's really the best member of the Shield. Right. That's always going to be. I feel like that was the same way with Evolution too, of Triple H, Batista, not really Flair, but Triple H, Batista, and Randy Orton were always in a feud without actually being in a feud for who's really the guy, who's really the best guy of Evolution. Yep. I feel like that's the case with the Shield as well. And you don't really have to have Seth or Roman cost Seth, because you can just pick up this story wherever it's at and just run with it. And it's ridiculous that this is not main evented at WrestleMania yet, but I feel like we are very, very close to Seth and Roman main eventing maybe WrestleMania 40, possibly 41. But I think we do get to see this main event before both of their careers are up.
I mean, I think we've talked about this before, and there's plenty of speculation out there online that we were headed for this for WrestleMania 32 if Seth hadn't gotten hurt. It was Seth, Roman, and Ambrose main event, WrestleMania. That was going to happen. But then, of course, Seth gets hurt, and we all know the comeback story and all that kind of stuff. Seth and Roman, like you mentioned, it's one of those things where if you're in a faction like that, with that many good wrestlers, that feud's always going to be able to be there. Yeah. You can go back to it, anytime you need it, a glass break moment, if you will. You mentioned Evolution. I'll even go back as far as DX. Triple H and Shawn Michaels. They had a fantastic 2-year rivalry during the Ruthless Aggression era, and it was so easy to go back to because of the chemistry they had when they were together and all those kind of things. So really easy to do that kind of thing. Let's talk about AJ for a minute. We know that tonight, if you're listening to this on Friday, tonight on SmackDown, which has already been taped, AJ is going to face Karrion Kross. Won't necessarily reveal the result of that. It's easy to go find, but we'll let you watch it for yourself. AJ and Karrion Kross probably in a one-off match. Who knows? But last week we saw AJ on the Grayson Waller effect. I thought it was really interesting. Again, don't know if that's a one-off or not, but I just felt like the whole segment just didn't hit. What were your thoughts?
I don't know. It's one of those that it's a very weird way to just introduce Grayson Waller to the main roster. Just not having him wrestle, but just having him go out there and do his talk show. It felt the same as his NXT stuff that he was doing, which, I'm a fan of Grayson Waller and what he's doing. So I think it's going to translate very well to the main roster. I feel like, and this is not a knock on AJ, but I feel like AJ is one of those guys, the talk show stuff doesn't really work with him. Unless
he's a heel.
Right, unless he's a heel. Yep. And I think because we've seen him on Miz TV, we've seen him on, I think, the KO show, whatever, and it doesn't really work unless you're a heel. That's why, I'm excited for, I think it's SmackDown tonight too, the Kevin Owens show with Roman Reigns on it. Yes. That's going to be great because when you have a babyface interviewing a heel, it works. When you have heels and heels together, it works. Just the other way around, it doesn't always seem to work. And I think that's probably what was the case with this one. Well,
and two, the way that it ended, like Grayson Waller saying the new world heavyweight champion, Seth Freakin Rollins, and that was the end of it. Like AJ didn't get to respond. There were no punches thrown. It was just kind of weird, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
All right, let's move on. You mentioned Roman and KO, of course, Sammy and Solo, undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. We'll come back to our predictions here in just a minute. But, man, this match could be just as big, anticipating this one just as much, maybe as KO and Sammy versus the Usos at WrestleMania. Like this is Sammy's shot back at Roman after Montreal. Montreal? Is that where it was?
Yeah, where Elimination
Chamber was. Yeah. I said Montreal, and then in my head I'm like, I immediately thought Survivor Series 97. I was like, wait a minute, did I say okay. Anyway, but man, this is huge, man. This we've talked about. Sammy needs to be away from Roman, all this other stuff. But here we are again. I know that you're sort of ready for KO and Sammy to be done with Roman, but maybe this is the end. I don't know.
I feel like this has to be the end because if you look at it either way, if they beat Roman, they've got their win back. They've done their job. There's nothing to really go back. If Roman beats them, how many chances do they get at Roman? So, I feel like this has to be the finish, the end to both of these, to at least this section of the story.
Yep.
But, we're getting ready to do our predictions, and this one, I may just flip a coin here in a minute and pick because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
And I'm nervous and excited at the same time. And this, stories like this and moments like this make me love pro wrestling so much.
Yep.
Because we often kind of get a picture of where things are going. For example, looking at Seth and AJ, AJ might win, but it's the clear choice that Seth should win this.
Sure.
In a lot of people's opinion. With this one, you have it's like a Randy Orton world title opportunity. You have no idea what's about to happen.
Sure.
Because it could be you're so mad at the end of this that you're done with the bloodline story, or oh my gosh, how did they even come up with that? Where are we going now? Like there's just so many options, so many ways that this could go.
I think back to the Royal Rumble when Sammy turned.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing that we came out of there talking about was not that Sammy turned, it's that Jay walked out. None of us saw that coming. So like with this, I'm not asking you to predict, but like the Usos are right in the thick of this. will they turn on Roman? Will they just turn on Solo and not touch Roman? Will Solo turn on them? I'm not saying that a turn has to happen, but like you just said, what in the world kind of thing are they going to come up with that we're going to be still intrigued by the end of this? I'm not saying we wouldn't be, but man, what could be next, you know?
Here's I'm going to lay this out there as this would be like the Jay walking away moment for me.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know.
Okay.
Is what if the Usos don't turn on Roman, but Solo is the one that turns on Roman?
Already?
And Solo walks away. Because they had the interaction with the shoulder bump a couple weeks ago, and he's always like been fired up to hit the Usos, to hit Jay specifically. But if it's one of those like, man, you're my brother and I can't do this, I'm sick of seeing this guy do this to you, and he turns on Roman, and maybe he doesn't fully turn, maybe they come back and now there's this big rift between Roman and Solo because maybe it was on purpose, maybe it was accidental in the match, whatever the case is. But I think that would be really interesting if Solo like Samoan spiked Roman out of nowhere an accident or something like that.
If I'm looking at it, I think it would be really interesting. You mentioned it last week. If the Usos, maybe not intentionally, but accidentally cost Roman and Solo the match, I could see at the end of the match, Roman just berating the Usos, telling Solo to get them, and Solo just walks out and doesn't touch anybody. He just walks out, you know?
Or he like shoves Roman or something, and then Roman's the one that like leaves, because that was the interesting part a couple weeks ago is when they bumped how quickly Roman got out of there.
Yep.
And it was like I've always wanted to see it, but in that moment I was like, I want to see Roman and Solo fight right now then, because that's going to be a lot of fun when those two guys actually get to wrestle.
This is so interesting. It's so interesting to think.
See what happens when you actually progress the story along, though, and not have Sammy whining to Jay every week. Like, I'm so happy that we're getting somewhere now.
Right. It'll be interesting to see if they do any kind of interaction with them before the match or like a backstage or something. It will be very interesting. I don't know, man. Like, we talk about all of the possibilities for the bloodline and where we could go with that after this match, but things are kind of up in there with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn as well. Like you mentioned it last week. What if KO turns on Sami in this? You know, that's still very possible. What if Sami turns on KO, not to necessarily join the bloodline, but that he's still conflicted in this whole thing? What if Sami and Jay have a backstage interaction and Jay actually plants seeds of doubt in Sami's head instead of the other way around? You know what I mean? So
what if Sami and Jay walk off together and they like Jay turns on Jimmy and Sami turns on Kevin and they're the new tag team?
Hey, you just never know, man.
You never know.
I think there's a lot of ways you can go with this. I think it's very beneficial for everybody. Nobody loses no matter where they go in this situation. I think, in my opinion, even if Roman and Solo win the tag belts, I don't think anybody loses in the situation, because the reason that they won the tag belts is because something happened, or we can see a progression in the story that we're like, again, didn't see that coming, you know?
Yeah. I don't think this is going to be a WrestleMania 37 moment where Roman spears both of them and stacks them and pins them. But boy, if he does, could you imagine the heat?
Oh, man, that would be so awesome.
Oh, man.
I think I'd love that. All right,
I would lose it.
Night of Champions, 3 more title matches to talk about. Gunther and Mustafa Ali for the Intercontinental Championship. You know, Mustafa Ali has said a couple of things on social media and in interviews this week that basically if he doesn't win the Intercontinental title, he doesn't need to be here anymore. Obviously, he's going to be the hometown favorite and all that kind of stuff. Don't think he's going to win this match necessarily, but what do you make of, if I don't win, I don't need to be here? I say that because in most wrestling promos, there's a nugget of truth in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, so where's that nugget of truth in that, do you think?
I think the nugget of truth is just the fact that he's asked for his release like twice and hasn't been granted it.
Okay.
So like I think it's him more playing it up, because I don't really see him actually leaving if he doesn't get this opportunity or if he doesn't win the championship or whatever.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's time to take it off of Gunther yet, and two, I love Ali and what he's been doing. The positive Ali stuff has been some of my favorite stuff on Raw that he's been involved in. I think that's probably where the nugget of truth is, that he's asked for his release a couple of times, and WWE's just been like, no, we're going to keep you around.
Right.
You're stuck here for a while.
Yeah. I think he could do well in Impact. I think he would do just fine there. If he went to Ring of Honor, I think he gets lost in the shuffle in AEW, specific AEW. But Ring of Honor, he would be okay. But I'm like you. Like, I think he's probably sticking around. He's probably playing this up. But, man, it's interesting to think about, especially with him making those comments. And maybe he's just trying to make the match interesting. But you look at Gunther and how long he's been champion and how dominant that he is. And nobody sees this title reign coming to an end. So, I don't know. It's a really interesting situation to look at. We got 3 women's matches on this card. Man, there was a time when we were going to Saudi Arabia and we were not having women's matches. Now we've got 3 on this one pay-per-view. One that is absolutely a slam dunk. I don't think we need to talk about it. It's just getting them on the card. Rhea Ripley and Natty for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I mean, there's no story there, really.
Natty's dead.
It just not legit, ladies and gentlemen, but it's not. There's nothing there, really. Raw Women's Championship, WrestleMania rematch, Bianca Belair and Asuka. I don't know, man. The match is going to be good, but I don't know. I just feel weird about going back to this because there wasn't really that much of a story around WrestleMania time, and maybe this is, I don't know, maybe just to get Bianca on the show. Who knows?
Probably just what it is, just to get Bianca on the show, because if Asuka wins here, then she should have won at Mania. Like, that's correct. It's one of those things. So I don't see Asuka winning right now.
Yeah, I know, me either. I kind of wish she would though. But yeah, probably not. Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch. We all anticipated this match would probably happen around SummerSlam, but it is here, man. At Night of Champions. I think it's kind of weird that I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird. I don't think this was the original plan, I guess is what I'm trying to get at when Trish originally did the turn.
Well, normally at these Saudi shows, they like to have legends come out. And
right.
I think this is she's the only legend that's confirmed to be there. So this is probably like the one that starts it off. Trish cheats to win, and then we get the rematch probably at SummerSlam between these two.
Yeah. Besides Brock, which we'll talk about in a second.
No, he's a legend, but he's
semi-active.
He's also been there a long time. Like, he hasn't been away for a while.
That's true. We've been kind of critical in some spaces about this Trish and Becky feud and piping in crowd noise. And, I was super hesitant when the rumors started coming out about Trish trying to be a heel. And what's your assessment of it? I'm like, do you think she's done okay? Do you think... Because I feel like when she's cutting promos, that I just feel like her rust is showing through when she's trying to be a heel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I'm not saying it's not working, but it's just not. It's not the level I think they thought it would be.
I agree.
And it's very hard when you've got really crappy crowds like Hershey, Pennsylvania was on Monday. They were horrible.
Yeah.
And so that stuff like that doesn't really help. I don't know. I feel like you can tell that she hasn't done this in a while. She hasn't been a heel in a while.
Right.
And it's starting to come through. But maybe the match itself will benefit it more than the promo she's been cutting the last couple of weeks. And so from here on out, maybe she'll do less promos and we'll just kind of build to the match itself instead.
I think you could have gotten away with Trish and Becky babyface versus babyface, especially in Saudi.
Yeah.
I don't think we had to have a heel in this situation, but it is what it is, I guess.
Unless Trish is sticking around for a while. she got drafted, so she may be around for a while.
Maybe just at least through SummerSlam, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Really, I I don't know. I just feel like this is interesting. You bring up, obviously, the point about the legends. I don't know that this was the original plan for this match, but that's just me speculating.
Yeah.
But match number 2 in the series, Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes. Cody with the broken arm, supposedly, from Monday Night Raw, which signals to me Brock's going to win this. Cody's going to take a couple weeks off to, quote, heal his broken arm.
See, I read it the other way.
Okay.
I read it as more adversity, give Cody all the adversity so he can overcome it and beat Brock and show that he's this big, bad, white meat, babyface character that we all know and love. I tell you what's really interesting, though, is how Raw ended.
Yes.
Because I've seen that smile from Triple H before.
Yep.
And that's not a good luck smile. That's okay, I'm going to knock your teeth down your throat smile. So I hope we're not heading this direction, but it looks like, I mean, we could be looking at maybe Triple H turning on Cody or costing Cody, and now we have Triple H against Cody, kind of like what they did with Roman with
and
Vince Brian, which it worked with Brian, it didn't work with Roman, so I don't know how it's going to work with Cody, especially with a guy like Triple H. Like I feel like if it was Vince, I would believe it. But if it's Triple H, I'm not really sure how I feel about it yet. If we are even heading that way.
I mean, it's the same thing with trying to make Edge a heel. It's the same thing with trying to make Trish Stratus a heel. It's just not necessarily a good idea to try to make these beloved legends a heel, especially when you're coming off Triple H having to be medically disqualified because he almost died. Something that we just found out about a little over a year ago. And then coming off the fact that now he's taking over the company, he's doing a lot of things that a lot of people have wanted to see for a long time, bringing back a lot of people. Now, whether they're hitting and missing, that's irrelevant, but he's doing things that a lot of people like. Do you think it's a situation where there's a lot of people who feel like it's the same old, and he's not doing anything different, so they try to make him an on-screen heel character to sort of mask everything else and make you forget about everything else?
I think it's more of just ratings. Like,
okay,
keep Triple H on TV because the ratings keep coming up. He's been on TV a lot the last couple of weeks, and so I think that's probably going to be part of it. Is just if he is going to be on TV more, is for ratings, to keep people on, to keep people invested, blah blah whatever. I agree though. Like, I don't think the heel stuff is going to work for Triple H. Obviously, we know he's one of the best, if not the best, heels of all time.
Yep. So
he can make it happen. I would argue that his greatest heel moment was having Cody lose at WrestleMania 39, but that's just me. But I feel like it might work. I'm afraid that it's going to do more damage to Cody than help Cody.
Mm. Okay.
Because people can see the writing on the wall of, well, now we know the company's behind him, or now, like, why are we telling this year-long story when we could have just, put the belts on Cody and had something fresh and different right off of WrestleMania.
Right.
So I'm afraid that it might go that direction more than help him if we even go in that direction, because I'm not even sold that we are heading in that direction.
It's fun to speculate that if we are, though. I think that if we are headed that direction, the only payoff is Cody Roman. I'm scared of what the payoff would be if it's not.
But the thing is, like, Triple H dogged Roman.
Sure he did.
This new championship. So, like, that to me doesn't make any sense as to why Roman and Triple H would be buddies now.
Because he's a heel, because he lied, because he...
But even then, like, that still doesn't make sense as to why you're creating a whole second title to combat Roman.
Sure. And I agree with that. Okay, so what do you think is the end game in this? Because it's not Cody versus Triple H. We know that.
No.
So what's the possible end game here?
I mean, it could be Cody Seth.
But if it's
because we know Seth is Triple H's guy. I don't even know if there really is an end game, because we didn't get Roman and Vince down the line. So I think it could just be this feud between these two guys that, after Cody smashed the throne, that now we're just kind of, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure you are not world champion. And as long as I'm in charge around here, you will never be world champion type of thing.
You know what would be cool is if it turned out to be Cody and Drew. And Drew was,
that would be cool.
Drew was his guy. That would be cool.
Yeah.
All right,
Or
let's
brought back like Adam Cole or something like that.
All right, let's run down the card. Let's predict the matches. We do not have the luxury of pro wrestling scorecards for this show. They did not do a scorecard for Night of Champions, and then their scorecard for Double or Nothing will not be ready in time for us to record. So we are flying solo on this, but we appreciate pro wrestling scorecards and how much fun they are, and we'll catch them on our next preview show. So Andy and I won't be keeping score this time. So Andy, you get to retain the title for another month. Look at you. All right, let's run down the card. Cody and Brock, we just talked about it. Who you picking to win this one?
I'm sticking with Cody. I think Cody winning makes him more interesting than him losing and taking time off, because I don't think we're running this back 3. I think we're just doing 2 matches, and I think Cody walks away with the win.
I'm the opposite. I think we're going a 3rd match, so I think Brock Lesnar squashes Cody Rhodes, bro. I think it's quick, one and done, and Brock Lesnar wins. Cody takes time off. We run it back at SummerSlam.
I better be competitive. It better be competitive is all I'm going to say.
Trish and Becky. I'm going to go Becky on this one. I think we're only running this one time. I think Becky gets the dub, and I don't think Trish is around for very long after that.
I am going to go the opposite, actually. I'm going to go Trish gets the win to set up something at SummerSlam, and I'm not going to be shocked if Lita makes a return and turns on Becky as well. And we have heel Trish and Lita going forward.
I like that. And then Becky can find a tag team partner, and we'll be off to the races. SmackDown Women's Championship, Rhea and Natty. I mean, this is Rhea all day long.
Rhea.
Yeah, for sure.
Rhea. It's going to be so fast and so short.
That's what we hope for. All right, Raw Women's Championship, Bianca and Asuka. We both said it earlier. I don't think Asuka's winning here. It's probably not going to happen.
No, I think Bianca walks away with still Raw Women's Champion. She's probably going to hold it till SummerSlam.
Right, I agree. Gunther and Mustafa Ali, another one. This one not quite as a slam dunk as Rhea and Natty, but it's pretty darn close, man. Gunther continues his title reign.
Yeah, I don't see anyone taking the title off Gunther anytime soon.
All right. Here's the one that you got to flip a coin for. Hope you got one ready. The undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Man. Oh, this is tough. I'm going to... shoot. I'm going to go with my gut on this one. I'm taking Roman and Solo to capture the belts. We're getting Roman 4 belts.
Roman, don't even bring that into existence. I'm going to go Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, but I think they win by disqualification.
That's a very safe bet.
I don't think that we're going to have a definitive finish to this match.
I think you're probably right.
I think the Usos may just hit the ring and super kick Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and look at Roman like, oh, you didn't win, and roll out and leave. I can see that happening too.
Oh, my goodness. All right, the big one, the World Heavyweight Championship. We could go back and forth on this one all day long, but at the end of the day, I'm going to safely pick Seth Rollins to end Night of Champions with the pyro going off, holding the World Heavyweight Championship.
And I am staying the same way. I think Seth Rollins has been the guy since this belt was introduced. He was the one that cut the best promo that night about that championship. He embodies what this championship is supposed to represent. And so give it to Seth and let him just run wild with it.
I completely agree, even though it's not going to hurt me if AJ Styles wins.
Oh, not me either, but I'll be a little disappointed, but I'll be okay.
Well, I tell you what, I feel confident in knowing that if Seth doesn't win this, there's something there for Seth. There's a reason that he lost, specific reason that we will see sooner rather than later.
I mean, we could be heading to Seth Roman at SummerSlam.
We could, you're right. We could get there a lot sooner than WrestleMania. You're 100% right about that.
So you never really know.
All right, if you are just now tuning in, welcome to the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, a show that is for the fans, by the fans. That's Andy York. My name is Chris Belcher. Thanks for hanging out with us. Follow us on social media at PBW Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Andy is at Andy_PBWP. I'm at Chris Belcher 24. The show is available wherever you find your podcast, Google, Spotify, Apple, Orange, whatever you want. We are there. Subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. We'd appreciate it. If you want to see our smiling faces do this podcast, check out our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, like the video. All of those things would be greatly appreciated. Also greatly appreciated would be you supporting our friends over at WrestleBuddy. I did my Meet the WrestleBuddy interview last Friday. Andy's is scheduled for today.
Next Friday.
Next Friday. Okay. So next Friday, Andy will be live over on the WrestleBuddy YouTube channel. So go make sure that you check it out. I had a lot of fun with Jimmy Bebe. I know Andy will as well. So make sure you're checking that out. Also, Tom and the crew over at SportsWire, they do so much for us. Thank you so much for your support. Make sure you support them as well. All right. AEW Double or Nothing. I want to start this conversation before we get into the matches, ma'am. I saw on social media that a restaurant in Las Vegas, Pub 365, is offering free Double or Nothing tickets with any purchase of a burger and fries. So,
I may be flying to Vegas.
So that tells me that either AEW is saying, oh, we really want to absolutely sell this building out, like it looks good or whatever. Or, Andy, do you think they're struggling to fill it up?
I don't think they're struggling to fill it up. I think it's one of those that they may just be maybe a promotional thing that they worked out earlier, and they just it's a good way to get people in. I mean,
Sure.
that's for sure. But I think what we've seen with Wembley and we've seen with the Forbidden Door sells. I would find it very hard to believe that they are struggling to get people to come watch their pay-per-views and stuff.
I agree with that. I know that WWE has done stuff like that in the past, in the mid-90s, but the one I'm thinking of specifically is Royal Rumble 1997 when they're trying to fill up the Alamo Dome. So that was a little bit different. That seats 70,000 people, whereas the MGM Grand in Las Vegas seats less than 20. So I don't know. I find it interesting. This is a staple for AEW. So I'm like you. You would have to convince me. You physically
I would have to see like proof on paper.
That's what I was going to say.
They're struggling.
You got to show me that these tickets aren't selling for me to believe. I think you're right. I think it's a promotion, but man, I find it really interesting that that's happening. You know.
I mean, it's a good way to get people to watch your stuff.
That's true. It is.
Hey, you want to come watch free wrestling? That's going to be at the MGM. Like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, that's a good way to get people who aren't invested pretty quickly.
Right. No, absolutely, you're right. Let's run through it, man. The 4 Pillars match for the AEW World Championship. We have talked it to death on this show, so we won't spend a whole lot of time on it, other than I will say that MJF's promo on Dynamite was awesome.
Yes, it was.
Like, that dude, I'm telling you, a lot of people, MJF rubs a lot of people the wrong way. He rubs me the wrong way a lot of times too. Let me just be clear. But even when the dude comes out there and cuts a 95% clean promo, dude can put butts in the seats. Dude is so talented. He's so good, you know?
I would argue that a majority of people who go to AEW shows are there for MJF.
Correct. I agree.
And like that's saying a lot when you've got the Elite, you've got John Moxley, you've got Chris Jericho, you've got Sting, you've got all these other like mainstays that have been around for a long time. But the one thing people are like can't wait for is when that MJF music hits, because he gets a huge pop when his music hits. and then he'll start cutting a promo, and the boos will just start raining down. Like, he's so good at what he does.
Yep.
He's only 26?
25, 26, something like that. Yeah.
25, 26, and I'm excited to see where he's at in the next 10 years. Because I think, and, you know, knock on wood, whatever, I think he could be one of these generational guys that we look at as, like, he just got it young, and his career soared as soon as he got the chance, and where we're seeing that come into fruition now.
Yeah. I mean, he would absolutely go down as one of the best talkers the business has ever seen. Like, I'm talking down with Roddy Piper and all those kind of guys. Like,
I think he may go down as one of the best heels we've ever seen.
I think you could be right.
Especially in a day and age where kayfabe doesn't matter. He makes it matter for him.
Yep.
Like, we've only seen like one video of him out of character, really, and that was backstage with the wardrobe lady.
Yep.
And even then, like, it was weird to see him do that.
Yes.
And like, people get mad when he like cusses out kids, flip off kids. Like, that's why they're there to meet him. Yep. So that happens. So like, he keeps kayfabe alive, and it's working in a day and age when it shouldn't.
Yep, I completely agree. Something else that's going to work when it shouldn't is Jeff Jarrett competing for a championship in the year 2023. Who'd have thunk it, ladies and gentlemen?
Who would have thought that Jeff Jarrett and Karen Jarrett on TV wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but actually one of the best things going for AEW? Like, it shouldn't work, but it does. Yep. And it's amazing. And I love the fact that like Jay Briscoe is going to be the special guest referee and all this stuff. Like, it's just, this one's going to be a lot of fun. Yep. When we go back and watch this one.
Yeah, don't sleep on this one, ladies and gentlemen, because I know that I'm sure, especially the internet wrestling community, is not happy that we're not getting the banger of a tag team match that we normally get for the AEW tag team titles. But I'm telling you, don't sleep on it. FTR, Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, they're going to tell a great story. They're going to make you believe. You're going to buy in. Yep. And, man, I think there's an outside shot. We see new tag champs just for, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think it's way too soon to take those titles off FTR. Way too soon.
Okay. All right. We'll see. We'll get those predictions here in just a minute as well. TNT Championship will be decided in a ladder match. Wardlow and Christian Cage. Another one, Andy, that was not on my bingo card that I expected to be happening.
But I'm looking forward to it. Like, it's Christian in a ladder match, so how can you not be excited for it? And two, I'm excited to see what these two guys do because they're so different in their wrestling styles. Yep. But I think it's going to work really, really, really well. So I'm very excited to see what happens with this one.
I mean, especially you have a match where Wardlow doesn't have to get pinned to lose the title. Yep. We are in this.
Luchasaurus is going to get involved.
We are in this this era, I guess, or this short time frame where we're seemingly hot-shotting the TNT Championship. Yeah. I don't know if it'll happen again. What I do assume is that this title will be exclusive to the Saturday shows that start in June. So I don't know if Wardlow you feel like is going to draw the best ratings, or if you want to put an established heel like Christian over there. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I assume whoever wins this is going to be exclusive to Saturday.
Yeah, I would say I was thinking the same thing. That's probably who's going to be their mainstay Saturday champion. Yep. Will probably be whoever walks away with this.
All right. TBS Championship, again, probably exclusive to Wednesday nights after this. Jade Cargill and Ty Valkyrie. Man, we talk about it all the time. Who's going to knock off Jade? Who's going to knock off Jade? I'm not asking you to really give a prediction, but this is one of the best chances that anybody has had to knock her off. Wouldn't you agree?
Outside of Athena, I think this is the best chance of somebody beating her.
Yeah.
And, I think it's very interesting. It's one of the first Jade matches I'm actually really looking forward to.
Yeah.
Because of that fact. Like, it's a toss-up what could happen. I think when we've been saying this for a while now, but it seems like every pay-per-view, Jade improves a little by a little by a little, and she's getting better and better and better. I think the character has always been there, and one of the things that makes her feel so important is AEW has nailed the presentation with her every single time.
Sure.
Like every time she comes out, she feels like a star. She feels like a big deal, and she's getting better and better in the ring. So I'm expecting this one to be actually pretty good. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I think it will be too. You know me and how much I've dogged Jade Cargill. I've never looked forward to any of her matches, but this one, I think it'll be good. Maybe I'll give her flowers after this, or probably not. Who knows? Lots more to get to for AEW here. The Women's Championship, Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm. Even though that they're in a feud, man, I feel like this match was just kind of thrown together. You know what I mean?
I feel like they didn't know because I think they're in the weird spot where Blood and Guts is so close that they just had to have a women's championship match on here. And the only one that really makes sense while keeping the belt on Jamie would probably be Toni Storm.
Yeah, I agree. Like when they announced this match, I was like, wait a minute. Like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? So
but I will say this, it's going to be a fun one. Like, it's going to be a really good match between these two.
Sure it is. Oh, they're absolutely going to have a fantastic match. Another fantastic match that we're going to see is the unsanctioned match. Adam Cole with Sabu at his side against Chris Jericho. First of all, Sabu, again, not on my bingo card for AEW in 2023.
Mine either, but I couldn't be happier. I'm so happy he's going to be there. We as soon as I saw this and I texted you about it, we both have said he's going to do something that a man his age should not do.
Correct.
And I'm so excited to see what he does. Like, I'm so excited to see what stupid stuff he pulls out.
Yeah, you've even told me offline that if you had been watching ECW in its heyday, that Sabu would have been my guy. He would be your guy. So
Sabu would absolutely be my guy, and I'm looking forward to see what he does.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Adam Cole and Chris Jericho, unsanctioned match. I thought they called these matches lights out matches. Like, the
lights out matches are like their basically like their no DQ or Extreme Rules matches.
Well, yeah, but they also say that they're going to turn the lights out, and AEW is not responsible for anything that happens once the lights come back on.
They did that with the first one with Kenny and who's the first one? Was it
Mox. Kenny and Mox?
Mox. I think they did that one with that to do something different, and I think now from just now on they're
unsanctioned
because they did the lights out match with Ruby and Britt, and that counted, I think.
And Britt and Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Oh, yeah, because lights out matches wouldn't count towards the record, and unsanctioned, I guess, technically would. That's just really confusing. Yeah. AEW International Championship, 21-man Blackjack Battle Royal will be really interesting to see. Anarchy in the Arena, one that we are waiting for with anticipation, man. The Black Bull Combat Club versus the Elite. Going to be a wild match. Could lead to a turn like you've speculated, could lead to blood and guts. A lot of possibilities with this one.
They have a lot of possibilities, and they have big shoes to fill after the last Anarchy, because if there's not a shot of Eddie Kingston walking down with a gas can bleeding like a zombie, then I don't even want to see this match anymore, because that, like, to me, that's like the staple shot of Anarchy in the Arena, is that shot of Eddie Kingston. Listen, I think this one might be, because I know we got questions towards the end, so I'm going to save some of what I'm going to say.
Yes.
But this one is one I've been waiting for a while.
Yes.
And I think I was hesitant about the Blackpool Combat Club turning heel, and I very quickly realized, oh no, these dudes are really good as a heel faction. Like, they are probably one of the best, if not the best, heel factions right now in wrestling. And I am excited to see what happens Sunday night.
I'm excited to see what they do, because not in matches, they're jamming screwdrivers in guys' face. They're doing all this. So I'm excited to see what they actually do. It's going to be, if it's anything like Mox and Hangman, that last match that we saw, it's going to be disgusting. Whatever they do, you know.
And I'm so excited for it. My one hope is that the Bucks pull out the thumbtacks in the shoes again and doing the super kick party. Like, that's the one thing I hope they absolutely bring out, is that I think we're going to get barbed wire all over the place. I think we're going to have broken glass. You know what? I think we might even get fired. I think there might be a flaming table and somebody gets put through it. And this is right up my alley that I'm just so excited for this.
Yes, for sure.
And this is the one that when we watch it, I'm going to tell Katie, you might want to walk away for a little bit because you're going to get a little sick watching this one.
Apparently also Matt and Jeff Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy against Ethan Page and the Guns. If the Hardy Party wins, they control Ethan Page's contract. I hate that stipulation, but, you know.
I do too, but I think it's going to work because Ethan Page was a really fun face for a little while before they did the turn, and I think that we're heading back to that character because Ethan Page and Matt Hardy shouldn't work together, but they were really funny together.
Right. That's true. That's true. All right, let's run down our predictions. Let's go bottom to top in the order that we previewed these things. Hardys and Isaiah Cassidy, Ethan Page and the Guns. You taking the Hardy Party in this one?
Hardys. Jeff Hardy's first match back. I don't see any way that they don't win this.
I agree. Anarchy in the arena. You've speculated a lot what you think's going to happen, but put a bow on it. Who you picking?
I think the Blackpool Combat Club are going to walk away with the win, and I think in doing so, they're setting up this as not a one-off, but I think we're going to run with this for a couple months until All In or All Out, and then there's where we're going to finally wrap up the story.
I agree. I think in order for the story to progress, I think the Blackpool Combat, I can't even say it. The BCC has to win this one, I think.
Yeah.
Unsanctioned match, Adam Cole and Chris Jericho. Adam Cole's got to win this thing, man. I think
he has to.
He's got to have a win to get himself on track. Not that he's not on track right now, but if you're going to do some big stuff with that guy, he's got to win this one.
Yep, I think this is the jumping off point for him in AEW to potentially be the next world champion.
International Championship Battle Royal, a match, again, like we talked about with Wardlow earlier. Orange Cassidy does not have to be pinned to lose the championship. If you're picking a dark horse in this one, are you sticking with Orange or do we see a new champ?
My official pick is Orange Cassidy. I don't think they take the title off him just yet because he's doing an absolutely amazing job with it. But if I had to pick a dark horse to win it, just because I can, I'm picking Danhausen because I just want Danhausen to have the gold.
That's fun. That's a lot of fun. I'm actually not going to pick Orange Cassidy to retain here. I'm going to say that Ricky Starks comes out with the championship in this one. I can see that. I think they're doing a lot with Ricky. I think that good chance that he gets this without, a babyface to a babyface. You don't have to pin the babyface. I think Ricky comes out with a win in this one.
And a good way to give it to Jay White down the line.
Absolutely. Yep. Women's Championship, Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm. I think the Hayter reign continues.
I do too.
I don't think we're done with that until we get a Britt Baker turn, which we could get. Who knows?
Yeah, I think the Britt turn probably comes after Blood and Guts. But I don't see any way Jamie Hayter doesn't retain the championship.
I agree. Jade Cargill and Taya Valkyrie, we've been speculating it, but it's time to make your official pick, and mine is Jade Cargill. I know that there's a big possibility, but it's not big enough to take the title off of her yet.
I don't know who's going to take the title off of Jade at this point. So at this point, I'm just picking the challenger every single time. So I'm picking Taya Valkyrie to win the TBS championship.
That's a good bet to make, I guess. If you're gonna, may as well bet on the challenger. All right, TNT Championship ladder match for the reasons we mentioned earlier about carrying the thing over to Saturdays. I'm going to take Wardlow in this one. Even though he doesn't have to be pinned to lose the title, I think Wardlow comes out victorious, and he is one of the faces of that Saturday show.
Yeah, for the same reasons is why I'm picking Christian.
Wow.
The TNT Championship. I think it's a good way for, like we talked about, Wardlow not to get pinned, but to put a title on Christian and have him be just the biggest jerk in wrestling. I think Luchasaurus gets involved, and I think probably down the line when we run back Jungle Boy and Christian, this is a good way to put the title on Jungle Boy and give him a championship to kind of run with for a while. So I'm picking Christian to get the job done.
Okay, I can see that. All very valid reasons. See, when we talk about opinions and you back it up with good, solid information, I can buy it. It's fine.
So there better be good, solid information as to why Jeff Jarrett wins the tag title.
Well, let me just tell you.
I'm sitting here waiting for it.
Let me just tell you what the good, solid information is that Jeff Jarrett's going to win a title. Because it's 2023 and it absolutely shouldn't happen, but daggum, he's in the spot. I'm not saying it's time to take the belts off of FTR. I just think that this Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal thing is really, really interesting, and it brings a whole new dynamic and flavor to the tag team division that AEW has legit never, ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not going to be disappointed if FTR win this match. Trust me, because I like the guys. But I think if you want to raise a lot of questions and raise a lot of eyebrows, I think you can make the switch and see what happens.
And see, I would agree with that. And it's a valid reason. It's a valid point. So your opinion is not invalid. But they did that with the Gun Club.
They did. You're right.
And so I don't think they want to do that back-to-back times really quickly. So they just got FTR re-signed. They just got them started. I don't see any way that FTR doesn't retain their tag titles here. Okay. Because with Forbidden Door right around the corner, there's going to be some big-time matchups there, All In.
It's true.
With Punk, if Punk is going to be there, and if they do something, I mean, you want to have them probably with the tag titles, because All In, you could do the 6-man, All Out, you can do Bucks and FTR one more time. Sure. And I think we are absolutely heading that direction.
All right. The 4 pillars, fatal 4-way main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. MJF, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara. Putting my money on the champ here. I don't think the belt goes anywhere.
I don't either, but my money is that this match is going to be crazy.
Yes.
And it's going to be all over the place. And I'm looking forward to see what Sammy and Darby and Jungle Boy jump off of in this match, because it's going to be something stupid.
Well, that leads us into our very next segment. You know that if you've followed this podcast for a while, we like to answer the biggest questions in wrestling today. Well, we are centering those questions today around these 2 pay-per-views. So since it's a double pay-per-view weekend, you know, we're going to look at both of these together, and you can pick between all the matches that we just listed unless we specify otherwise. So, Andy, I'm throwing it to you first. Match between the 2 pay-per-views that you are looking forward to the most.
So we're doing one on each show,
no,
or just
one
weekend?
In general? The whole weekend.
Oh, man.
Match you're looking forward to the most the whole weekend.
I think the match I'm looking forward to the most, and you can be shocked when I say this or not, is Anarchy in the Arena.
I was getting ready to say I'm not shocked at all.
Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite. It's the match I've been waiting for a while.
Yep.
The Elite are finally back together, all 4 guys. It's exactly what it needs to be. So that's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Well, I could guess yours. You can guess mine. The match I'm looking forward to the most is for the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins and AJ Styles. I mean, like, to me, that is pinnacle of my fandom. It doesn't get better than that. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, it's like 1A was Anarchy in the Arena, 1B was that one for me. So
nice.
they were both right up there.
Match you are looking forward to the least. What do you not want to see over these 2 pay-per-views?
Anytime Natalia's on my screen, so probably Rhea and Natty. And I love Rhea, but probably Rhea and Natty.
I would be inclined to agree with you, but for the sake of argument, I'll take something else. Give me... You know what? Even though I said it was going to be good, I think it's going to be the worst match of the weekend, because I do think Natty can put on a good match with Rhea. Give me Jade and Taya. That's the one I'm looking forward to the least. She's just got to prove me otherwise. Once she proves me otherwise, then I can be okay. But for now, I think that's the one I'm looking forward to the least. The match between these 2 pay-per-views that you think will steal the entire weekend. When it's all said and done,
oh gosh,
what match are we going to be talking about after this weekend?
You know, the one that stuck out the most is the one that I'm going to bring up.
Okay.
And I think the one that's going to steal the entire weekend is Gunther versus Ali.
Oh, wow.
I think Ali has a lot to prove, and he's going to try to prove it. And we have seen that Gunther is allergic to having bad matches with anybody. And so I think that is going to come into a recipe of that's just going to steal the entire weekend.
You know, I almost went on a limb and said Adam Cole and Chris Jericho for this answer, just because I really think that they're going to put on a better match than we think they will, especially with all the toys they can use and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to go with the cop-out answer. For storyline purposes, I think what's going to steal the weekend is the story of KO, Sammy, and the Bloodline. I think at the end of the weekend, that's what we're going to be talking about. I don't know what's going to happen, but something is going to happen that we're going to be, that's going to be the point of conversation for sure. Yeah. I think. All right. Question number 5. We got this one and one more. No, sorry. Question number 4. 2 more after this. What is we hit this in the segment, but we'll ask it just for the sake of it. Your number 1 lock of the weekend, your guaranteed result of the weekend, it's Rhea and Natty, is it not?
Yeah, probably. But since you said Rhea and Natty, that'll be your answer.
Okay.
Mine will be MJF retaining the title.
I like that. That is very good.
I think that's a lock.
I think that is very good. I don't think there's any reason for him to drop it to either one of these guys. Not that they're not good, but
unless there's like an injury mid-match or something. Right. But like taking all of that out, I think the lock is MJF retaining.
Okay, this one I'm going to ask you to pick one on both shows. So this is the only one we're going to ask to do that. What is the match on each show that will have the most impact storyline-wise moving forward? So really going to progress a story, really going to not necessarily show us what's next, but have the most impact.
I'll say for Night of Champions, I mean, it's hard not to pick the Bloodline and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
Correct.
And then for the AEW side, probably the Anarchy in the Arena match.
Okay. I am going to say, for storyline purposes, a Night of Champions, Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. I think whatever happens with that, I think we're getting a clear picture of what's coming next. Probably with Cody, maybe not necessarily with Brock, right? But I think with Cody, we'll see that. And I think, man, let's go out on a limb here. I'm going to say the AEW Women's Championship match. Jamie Hayter and Toni Storm. Pick. You know, I know we said that we don't know where the match came from, but I think there's a good chance we could see something on that show that really, like, progresses us forward in that story. Because I don't want to say, okay, I'll say it. The story's kind of getting stale between the Outcasts and, you know, the AEW crew. So we need something there, and I think they could deliver that here.
Yep, I agree. I completely agree.
All right, question number 6. This is a yes or no question. Will CM Punk show up at Double or Nothing?
Oh, man. What do we classify as show up? Like in person?
I'll classify a video package as showing up.
Then I'll say yes. I think they announced.
No. That's what I was going to say. Let me preface.
Go ahead.
Does not include a vignette for Collision. So he could.
So they can't show like a graphic of being like Punk. Here's what I think could happen.
Okay.
So I'll just clarify so you can say if it's a yes or no.
Go ahead.
I think we get a video package of Punk that then a graphic will show up that says that he will be at Collision.
Okay. So if I'm interpreting that, I would say that what I'm thinking is he might not be there in person, but once MJF wins,
dadgummit, I was thinking the same thing.
There's a video package.
A recreation of. Could you imagine if the lights go out and we hear Tony Khan on a voice mail again talking to Punk, and then Punk's music hits?
Yep.
I want that to happen now. So I'm going to change my answer completely and say yes. That's exactly what's going to happen is that. And I hope that happens.
I think because it's a lock that MJF is going to win the championship, I think CM Punk shows up at the end of the night. I think because the writing is on the wall, Collision, Chicago, he's showing up. You may as well just drum up the interest even more. Don't just save his first well, unless you want a ratings pop. Don't just save his first appearance for that show. Just go ahead.
Well,
we know
even
it's
the ratings
happening.
pop. Like if he shows up at Double or Nothing, I'm tuning in for Collision for sure.
Yeah,
because I know Punk's going to be there.
You know he's showing up. That's right.
So I think. Plus, I feel like at every Double or Nothing, there's at least one big surprise.
Yes,
like return or show up. And I think this could be. I think if it's not Punk, I think it's going to be some New Japan guy to set up Forbidden Door.
Sure. Agreed, for sure. All right, let's hit a couple of quick hitters on our way out. Appreciate you guys hanging with us. A couple of quick things. Speaking of AEW, the Fight Forever video game, long awaited, finally has a release date. You can pre-order it right now, but it will be available June 29th. And let me just say, as much of a fan as I was of playing WCW, NWO Revenge, and No Mercy, and all that stuff, I do not think this video game looks very good. I'm not excited about it.
I think it looks amazing.
I'm not excited about it.
I'm so excited for this one. I think it's so different than 2K. I think it's going to be, I think once it's said and done, I think it's going to be better than this last version of 2K.
Absolutely not. There's no way. That is an invalid opinion. No way.
No, come on. 2K's got so many flaws in it, though. It crashes every 2 seconds. Your universe mode sucks half the time.
This one's not going to be very good, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I am looking forward to it.
I think it's going to be terrible. All right. Liv Morgan injured 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, rather. The women's tag team titles are vacated. There's going to be a fatal 4-way next week on Raw to determine new champions. Looks like Raquel is going to be teaming up with Shotzi, Bailey, and Io, because Dakota Kai also got hurt. Poor Dakota Kai tearing her ACL again. So she is hurt. And then you've got Sonya and Chelsea in the match, as well as Ronda and Shayna. I think there's only one babyface team in this match. Yeah. I think this is your time to put the titles on Ronda and Shayna.
I agree, but my gut and my heart, and my heart and my gut, but my heart says to put it on Sonya and Chelsea.
Oh, I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I think
I would love it if Sonya and Chelsea won.
I agree with that.
I would also love it if somehow they got Adam Pearce fired, kayfabe fired, and Chelsea Green was the new general manager. I would just eat that up.
That would be so much fun. That'd be so good. All right.
I agree. I think Ronda and Shane are the only ones that should win this.
Speaking of injuries, Mercedes Moné, formerly known as Sasha Banks, seemingly was injured against Willow Nightingale over this past weekend.
Yeah.
Or is it a work? Did she not get injured?
Well, so the move, she got hit with the move where she got injured, and then she just didn't kick out.
Right.
So I'm not entirely sure because there's a picture of her in her gear in the hospital. So I think she might have gotten injured. It may not be to the degree that we feared it might be at first. And I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility that she wrestles at Forbidden Door.
Oh, I 100% think she wrestles at Forbidden Door.
I'm excited when she does.
I think that this injury, I'm not accusing her of not being hurt, because maybe she is, maybe it's not as serious as we thought. But I do think this was part of the story to get her to Forbidden Door to show up, because you think back when Shawn Michaels collapsed against Owen Hart in 1995, they didn't tell the medical personnel. They didn't even tell the hospital. Shawn could not leave the hospital because even though he was not hurt at all, he had to be signed out, and they wanted to do all these tests. And it's like, no, guys, it's kayfabe, whatever. So I'm not saying that Sasha did the same thing, but I'm saying that it's a good possibility.
Probably. Yeah, I agree.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, a double pay-per-view preview. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you think of our picks at PBW Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow Andy at Andy_PBWP. I am at Chris Belcher 24. Make sure that you are tuned in to us each and every Friday right here on the YouTube channel. Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel, on SportsWire Radio, and wherever you find your podcast. Don't forget our other show, our fantasy booking show, PBWF. It's available on another feed, audio version only, wherever you find your podcast. And it is a banger, ladies and gentlemen. We are in season 2 and having a blast doing it. Make sure you're checking that out as well. All right, Andy, I believe that's going to do it for our double preview. You know what a double preview means. Next Friday is a double review. Lots of stuff to talk about. It is going to be a loaded show. Don't miss it. It's going to be available Friday, again, on our YouTube channel and wherever you find the podcast. For Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. This has been the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. We will catch you guys down the road.